Hello, my coven, sick and tired here, and today we are going to be reading some viewer submissions. I have quite a few of them for you today because they weren't quite as long. So grab your drinks, grab your cocktails, get comfortable, and if you are enjoying my content, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you can be a part of our wonderful support group every week. Hi Sam, I found your channel recently and it has been so cathartic to watch your videos. Thank you. And although I could tell plenty of stories about my mother, today I want to share about my mother-in-law. Ooh. One story in particular will show how truly evil she was. My husband was being raised by his grandparents, his mom's parents, because she was incredibly selfish and couldn't be tied down with a small child full time. When my husband was 5, my mother-in-law found out that her parents were encouraging my father-in-law spending time with his son. He has severe PTSD, having recently come home from the Vietnam War, and was unable to care for a child alone. My mother-in-law was furious at the thought of her son having a relationship with his father and proceeded to, quite literally, kidnap him. She took him one night from his loving home with his grandparents in New Jersey and drove to Colorado to stay with friends. We don't know if his grandparents just woke to find him gone or if they were left a note or anything, but they did locate them shortly after. They tried the police and the courts, but parental kidnapping wasn't really a thing in the 70s, and there weren't the laws there are now. The best advice they were given from the family court system was that they needed to go to Colorado and set up residence there and petition the courts there for custody. So they packed up and started driving. They made it to Colorado late on Christmas Eve. From what we later were told from our family, they were going to push through the last couple hours of the drive that day so they could be there for my husband on Christmas morning because they were incredibly worried about how scary this whole situation was and wanted him to have some normalcy and relief on Christmas morning. The police report stated that his grandfather fell asleep while driving, and that's what caused the head-on collision with a tractor trailer. Both his grandparents died on impact. Oh, wow. Police came and notified his mother that night. The next morning, Christmas morning, my mother-in-law took her 5-year-old child to identify the car and her parents. Oh my God, it happened on Christmas Eve. Oh, that's so sad. That's what's going to be remembered the rest of their lives is Christmas now is the passing of the grandparents. It's so sad. She walked him right up to the car, badly crumbled, a back seat full of beautifully wrapped presents now crushed and covered in blood, and said to my husband,
"Do you see this? This is all because of you. I don't have a mom and dad anymore, all because of you."
Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. This woman's like just a straight up like villain, like an evil Game of Thrones villain. She spent the next 13 years making my husband feel guilty for the pain she was supposedly caused by the loss of her parents, that he was so lucky that he still had a mother that was sacrificing so much to care for him after his father didn't want him and he killed his grandparents. Wow. Yeah, that's an evil mother-in-law. He went no contact at 18. She sent letters he didn't read. I did though, and they were just massive guilt trips. And called me once she found out he was married with children to demand that I allow her a relationship with our grandkids. Why? So you can talk to them and treat them the same way you treated your son? My husband was livid when he found out, and the only time he spoke to her as an adult was to tell her that she was never to contact his family again. I can't begin to get into all the trauma that she caused, but Christmas is still a major trigger even 45 plus years later. Yeah, I can imagine. To end on a happy note, my husband's father finally found him when my husband was in his late 30s. They were able to reunite before my father-in-law passed, and that's how we found out that he had been looking for his son for 30 years. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy he found him, but 30 years lost. Oh, that's so heartbreaking. We found out when my mother-in-law passed a couple years ago, and upon hearing the news, my husband said we needed to go out and celebrate the good news, and we did. Oh, I apologize for the length of this story. I tried to be brief. You can share all or part of this story if you choose. My husband knows I'm sharing this and is fine with all of it. It's taken both of us a lot of work healing from our childhoods, but it helped that we could understand the other's experiences, and I think that's how we helped each other heal. That and lots of therapy. And while I hate knowing that others also had narcissistic and parents like ours, it helps to listen to your videos to know we're not alone, if that makes sense. Regardless of whether you use any of this or not, thank you so much for letting me share this, and thank you for being so open about your experiences. It really does help. Yours truly, Jessica. Yes, I will always be completely 100% open and honest about everything that I went through. I'm much older, and honestly, I don't really care if people know about it. I have nothing to hide, basically, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to share how I feel and what happened to me, and hopefully it can help other people feel less alone. Hi, I watch your channel frequently, and hearing the stories makes me feel less alone. There are a couple that stick out the most. When I was 9 years old, my younger brother and I were watching TV in his room after school. At the time, we lived in a single wide trailer, so the walls were fairly thin. At some point, one of us bumped the wall and somehow knocked something off the wall opposite us in the living room. We weren't fighting or anything, we were just being wiggly. My father burst into the room, belt in hand. I immediately shoved my brother into the corner nearest his closet, and he went inside the closet. I went to the opposite corner, and my father repeatedly hit me with his belt. At the end, I had a bruise on my upper leg from my hip to my knee. I could barely sit at school on the hard desks because of the bruises. Another time, we were living in a different house, and I was told to do the dishes. At the time, we had a dishwasher, but weren't supposed to use it. My parents could, but I had to wash them by hand. What the hell? That's messed up. I decided to use the dishwasher because I didn't want to hand wash. Yeah, who does? My father caught me and screamed at me and then locked me outside until my mom got home from work. It was late February. I was wearing leggings and a t-shirt, no shoes. We lived in Iowa, so it was pretty cold. Thankfully, it wasn't dangerously cold, maybe in the 40s. I was outside on the patio for 3 hours. Oh, that is wicked. There's so many others, like the time he killed my cat with his bare hands because my cat knocked a towel off the towel rack. Oh, God. Well, he is evil. He's straight up evil. We have some very evil parents today. I can't even believe what I just read. The time he told me I had cancer because of a bump on my head. It's not cancer. It's nothing. A cyst maybe, but it's so small and has not changed shape or size in 30 years, so it's never been anything to worry about. Okay, well, as a hypochondriac, I would ask you to maybe just go make sure it's nothing. I worry about everything when it comes to medical stuff now. I do not speak to him. He's told me I'm lying about most of my stories or blames my mom for brainwashing me. None of those things are true. Thank you for your time. If you never read this, it's fine. Sometimes just getting it out into the universe is therapeutic. Blessed be. Why do they always say we're lying or that we're misremembering? How would you misremember something so traumatic? Hello, I haven't thought of a good name for you to call me, so I guess Salty works. I think the worst story I can give you about my family, both parents were abusive, is how my mother handled me getting lice. Oh no. I have countless stories from both my mother and father, though my mother was worse. She used actual genuine torture tactics on me, but this really sums up a lot of her bullshit. Also, for context, my parents had been divorced for a few years by this point. Trigger warning for lice, self-harm, and neglect. I got lice in middle school, a normal thing that a lot of people go through. I know I did too. My father bought the lice treatments and diligently used it and the comb to completely rid me of it every single week because my mother saw us on 2 nights a week and every other weekend, and she refused to do anything to clean her house. At this time, I also shared a room with her, lucky me. I was not allowed on any furniture besides my own bed, so I had to sit, eat, and live on the floor. Oh my gosh. That's already bad enough, but she blamed me for getting lice. Yes, she blamed the 12-year-old for getting lice when she refused to wash my bedding or vacuum the carpet. After literal months of this neglect, and again, my father would spend hours combing and cleaning my hair to get rid of them. She decided she didn't want to deal with my long hair anymore. Oh man, I had a feeling that this is where this was going. Oh no. No, please. I don't remember the entire event because it was quite traumatic for me, but I remember ending up on the floor with her pinning me down. Yes, that's a 40-something pinning a 12-year-old to the floor. Then when I shut down and stopped fighting like she trained me to do in this situation, she dragged me to the bathroom and cut all of my hair off up to my ears. I was sobbing the entire time, but so frozen and terrified that if I moved, she would hurt me with the scissors. I was so deeply attached to my hair as a child, and I haven't had long hair since then. I'm 22 now and only really now starting to grow my hair back out. I can finally braid it again and I'm so happy. I am so sorry. That is awful. Our hair, I feel like it's such a part of your identity. At least I feel that way about mine. To have somebody hold you down and cut it, I remember her smugly telling me how she and my siblings hadn't gotten lice and how it was just me, like I had any control over the situation. She acted like this was some sign that I was doing something wrong or sinful. I was a kid. I just wanted to stop itching. Lice is very common with kids. I mean, that's why they would do lice checks in school. Like, it happens. Your mom's just being a bitch. I was already severely depressed from the abuse I was facing at school, and my father's, and the actual genuine torture at my mother's house. But after this, I got worse. I was angry and my self-harm spiked so hard. I've never forgiven her for how she handled this. Yeah, I wouldn't either. She ruined my hair when she could have just washed my bedding and stuff when I wasn't at her apartment. I almost got kicked out of school for it too. This isn't even the worst thing she's done to me. Who knows? Maybe I'll send another story in the future, but it sure has stuck with me deeply. I understand lice is hard to handle, but this was so extreme and such a horrible way to cut a child's hair. Yeah, absolutely. If she had talked to me and explained things instead of just forcing me into submission, maybe I wouldn't be so traumatized by this. But then again, if she was capable of doing that, I'm not sure she'd be my mother. Yeah, why wouldn't you just explain to your child? Well, first of all, why aren't you trying to clean up? But let's say you just have this lice that it's just not going away no matter what you do. You'd have to sit down and talk to your child. This is something that would stick out too. And I know a lot of people will say in their emails, this isn't the worst they've done, or I'm sure there's other things. No, I get it, because I know there's tons of terrible things that my mom has done to me, but there's always those ones that stick out that really screw you up. So I completely understand. This would be very high up there. I am so sorry she did this to you, but I'm glad that you're growing your hair out and that you're feeling better. And yes, if you would like to send in more stories and tell us more, we're always going to be here. For context, my mom had me kind of young, 17, and by the time I was 2, I was being raised by my angel of a grandmother. Grandma was in her 60s at this point. I had to go to my mother's every other weekend, whether I wanted to or not. I tried to get out of it every time. She married and POS when I was about 6. She told me my father wanted nothing to do with me, so he was out of the picture until my grandma found him for me at 13. That's a whole nother can of worms. Oh, well, would you like to share that can of worms? Because I'd be interested. Fast forward through a shit show of a life with my immature mother, I was more the mom to her. Yep, see it often. And I cut her off when I was about 19 to 20, even after she divorced my stepdad as my 18th birthday present. Was that like really your present, or is this just like a metaphor? After about 4 years, I got a huge box for my son from her of gifts. I didn't want to be rude, and I hoped she had changed, so I reached out to her. This would be roughly 2012-ish. Fast forward to 2014, and me, my then fiance, son, and daughter, moved to Florida. My daughter was only about 8 to 9 months when we let my mother move in with us. Why? Also, how's Florida? I've been thinking about if we move, maybe going there, but I'm terrified of bugs and alligators. But I love thunderstorms, and I've just been kind of thinking about it. It's gonna get even worse now, isn't it? The story, not Florida. I mean, I don't know. Things seemed okay, although I wasn't a fan of living with her. We supported her in trying to better her life, and I really felt she was improving. I can already feel the house of cards kind of shaking, kind of wobbling. In 2018, she had weight loss surgery. I was really proud of her for trying to really improve her health, as she's always been morbidly obese. She quit smoking, etc. I always hyped her up. Then we moved about 45 minutes away, and old mommy dearest returned, crying and sobbing about how she wouldn't see her grandbabies all the time. But when I offered to bring them to her for a few days, I'd get a call that we needed to get them after a day. She'd offer to take them for a week, and after 2 days, she would be calling. She didn't feel good or something came up. Oh, yeah. And now we live a bit further from her. It's a 2-hour round trip to bring the kids, who are now 15 and 11. Back in September, my kids finally told me she's been emotionally abusing them. They didn't use those words, but they told me all about it. Oh, hell no. She was telling my 11-year-old daughter the same things my stepfather would say to me. I was disgusted. My kids are the sweetest kids ever. They were telling me that they wouldn't be sad if she died. I understood how they felt. Oh my gosh, yeah, that means that there's some bad stuff going on to get kids to say something like that about their grandparents, because no matter how much we are like with the in-laws or our own parents, the kids are a lot more forgiving, I feel like. So if they're saying this, there's some serious shit going on. I cut her off again. Over the years, if I saw inklings of the old her really coming out, I'd warn her. I've cut you off before, I'll fucking do it again. I blocked her from every form of communication I possibly could. Not that we really had much to talk about anyway. She always brushed off anything I texted her that I was excited about with a thumbs up or a simple LOL, but could talk for ages about whatever new man she was chatting up. My little brother 30 got put in the middle for a short bit. She kept trying to relay messages to him until I put my foot down. Thankfully, she hasn't tried to contact me since before Christmas. There is so much more I could write about, but this is what I'm going with. It's one thing to keep disappointing me, emotionally manipulating me, and making me feel like I'm the parent, but you don't hurt my babies. There was a time where things were a bit rough with them because of her treatment, but they're doing so much better. Well, I'm really glad to hear that, and I hope that you guys are doing well, and I agree. Do not fuck with our babies. Well, thank you so much to everybody who emailed me their stories. If you would like to hear more submissions from our viewers, I'll put the playlist up for you to check out. Until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I hope that your magic is strong. I hope that your symptoms are low. I love you guys.